Hi, I'm BJ, and this is the Arcane Alienist Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's time for another installment for RPG Day 2026. We are using the prompts provided by Runeslinger and Autocratic. As always, look at the episode description for more on that, links to their stuff, as well as some of the other Anchorite podcasts that are participating in RPG a Day this year. What we're doing is each they gave us several options, and with the emphasis on character creation this year. Every day of the month has a prompt, but then you can either look at the week or the day of the week for additional prompts. And the prompts for each day of the week are using the old poem, children's poem Monday's Child, where it says a child born on the day of the week sort of prescribes a certain trait to them. So for Thursday's child has far to go. So we're thinking of a, a character who's on a journey. We're going to make a classic BX OSE character for each day of the week. Someone who has far to go. And then the prompts for the days of the week, the days of the month that fall on Thursday are reach, strain, promise, and hunger. Well, the first thing I think when I hear far to go and I think of hunger, I think of a halfling. Halflings go on these journeys. They have this. If you go with the strict hobbit, they don't like to go anywhere. They're very homey. They have a huge appetite. They would just want to have uh, nice meals and relaxing in their cozy little hobbit holes. But I like the way, I particularly like the way that they sort of addressed halflings in Mystara as they really started to expand BX and then Beckme with the five shires and the way hobbits work or halflings work in or the hen as they call them in if you that's a tremendous source book. You can get it on Drive Through RPG or on DM's Guild. The five shires set in the Gazetteer of the Known World, written by Ed Greenwood, who is primarily the developer of Forgotten Realms, but he wrote this and some of that really in his original iteration of the Forgotten Realms really conformed. The halflings there were a lot like this too. I think they refer to themselves as the hen, but they do have this sense of these cozy, safe, kind of pastoral agricultural communities. But they all get this wanderlust as a young adult, and they head out and they have adventures, and if they survive, they come home, they settle down, they get the urge to settle down and go back to that kind of pastoral lifestyle. But the consequence is, particularly as they talk about in Mistar, is that the Shire is one of the five Shires, one of the safest places to go because it is entirely peopled by retired adventurers for the most part. So anyone who's ever gone in there looking for trouble has pretty much been a disaster every time a horde of orcs or braiders or whatever tries to stir up trouble because they think, oh, here are these little halflings, easy, ripe for the picking, and it never turns out well for the invaders because of you know the looks can be deceiving with halflings. So here we've got I think we're gonna go with a halfling who's out on the young adult halfling out on their journeys, their wanderlust until they finally get the urge to retire and go home and settle down. Halflings are always hungry. Halflings reach. They're short, so particularly when they leave halfling communities, everything is out of reach. Strain. They've got a strain to see over you know things that are not built for them. Um, and then promise. I'll think a little more about what that promise is as I flesh out the character. So again, I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to put a character together, and then I'll come back and kind of give you what we sketched out. Okay, so I rolled for gender. This one's halfling is going to be a male. A fantasy name generator gives me this nice name, Bodo or Bodo 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 Not Wise halfling. Uh, with the pre-generated stats, I kept his strength at a 13. I kept the dex at an 18. I felt like, if everybody's going to have an 8 con with these stats, so again, I kind of swapped some things around. So I put that. I He's got a 13 Constitution, 10 Charisma, 16 Dex. So I did bump that con up a little bit. I lowered the Wisdom, and also you have to have a 9 con to be a Halfling in BX. So I kind of swapped that 8 out and put it in Intelligence, and then I just again lowered the Wisdom. I pulled the Wisdom down to a 10. And things kind of balanced out to add those points over to get an 11 intelligence. So we got a 13 strength, 11 intelligence, a 10 wisdom, a 16 dex, a 13 con, a 10 charisma. So he's pretty dexterous. He's got also the required strength to at least get, like, I think a 5% XP bonus, because you have to have, I think, strength and dex are the ones you have to have high for they're the prime requisites for the halfling as a class. Anyway, it's still completely viable character. That's probably more details than you might be interested to hear there. Again, with his 100 gold, what do we get with 100 gold? Leather armor, shield, a short bow, some arrows, 2 hand axes. I figured if he's not shooting with I'm actually kind of thinking this is kind of a ranger type character. Again, we don't have a ranger in basic expert D&D or core OSE. But a halfling can sort of fit that mold when you look at their natural abilities to, 90% ability to hide in wilderness if they just kind of crouch down and be still, 33% in other settings as long as they just find something they can crouch down behind and try to be quiet, right? A missile attack bonus. So whether he's using his bow or whether that's why I think I put him 2 hand axes. He can toss one if he needs to and draw another one out for melee. Pull his shield off his back and go into melee if he needs to. And of course can get leather armor later. He's a first level character. I mean, he can get better armor than leather. So leather armor, shield, short bow, arrows, 2 hand axes, a backpack, a couple of large sacks, some 6 torches, a mirror so he can look around corners, a tinderbox rope, rations, and water skin. I left him with 2 gold pieces to start. But again, his special abilities, +2 AC versus large opponents, that hiding and that missile attack bonus. So I think that makes a pretty good scout, and not a heavy armored warrior, or at least not right now because of financial limitations, but could fill that kind of light mobile fighter, ambusher, guerrilla tactics, scout thing that you would use a ranger type character for. So even though, remember Tuesday we created a magic user that had a lot of high charisma and bard-like abilities, so I hope we're also seeing some of the flexibility you can get with BX, even though you're missing some of the other kind of AD&D style characters that people might think are missing. There are ways to kind of get into the ballpark with them. So what kind of personality sketch do I come up for Bodo? Bodo is a curious halfling who is always reaching. There's that prompt, reaching to see what's on the top shelf in the next room, around the next corner, or over the next hill. His curiosity can often get him and his friends in trouble, which puts a strain on his relationships. This is where I'm trying to work the promise in. So that curiosity and that drive can put a little strain with his friends, but he keeps his word. He's good to his word. He's always trying to do the right thing. He's always trying to be helpful, even if his curiosity gets the better of him. And so people recognize that that's just kind of a quirk about him, and they might have to kind of, hey, now be careful. Let's think about this, right? But but he's still a good guy. His hunger for new experiences, there's that hunger one, is matched only by his endless hunger for breakfast, second breakfast, 11sies, luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper, and a midnight snack. So there we have Thursday's Child, Bodo Notwise, the halfling adventurer. So hope you enjoyed that. Be sure and check out all the other stuff going on for RPG A Day a Month. That'll do it for this week. Next week, I'll finish up with Wednesday and Sunday to finish the month out. But in the meantime, take care of yourself and make someone happy today. See you later.
Thanks for listening to the Arcane Alienist podcast. The music you're hearing is Come and Get It by Scott Holmes Music. The cover art is by Dave Bone. Be sure to check out his stuff at ironseer.com. You can leave me a message. I have my SpeakPipe account linked to the show description. You can also send me an email at arcane.alienist@gmail.com. Just embed a voice memo, or I'll just read the text to your email during a future episode. Once again, thanks so much for listening.